It's been more than a few moons since last we met, friend. As it so happens, I have a proposition suited to your talents. Are you prepared to throw caution to the wind and consort with fiends most foul once again? Of course you are. But before we get to the heart of the matter, let us reflect upon the history of All Saints' Wake. On this night, dew-fell fiends emerged to cavort and careen, unconcerned with the judgments of those on high. For the halls of the saints' heavenly abode ring with merriment as the wine flows freely, and no one can be bothered to look down. Thus did God's-fearing folk greet this particular sunset with trepidation, daring not to venture from their homes. No longer. Nay, for adventurers came and drove out the void scent, restoring safety to the city's streets and marking the occasion as one of jubilation. That's all well and good, but what of the poor forsaken fiends? Are they, too, not deserving of revelry? My wish is to see All Saints' Wake reborn as a celebration for all, be they ghost, ghoul, Gridanian, or otherwise. And how do I propose to accomplish this feat? Binding obligations, friend. I've convinced the more sinister sorts to enter into contracts which forbid them from preying on mortals. In exchange, they are permitted to partake in the festivities. But there's one troubled soul who still seems incapable of getting into the spirit of things. Perhaps you'd be willing to give them a helping hand. Nothing too devilishly difficult, I promise. Before you get started, you'll want to get a grasp of the particulars by speaking with Papa Gruff. He ought to be performing one of his shows by the entrance to the Great Loam Growery. Now go. I shall be watching your performance with great interest. Heh heh heh.
Although it pains me so, our humble performance must draw to a close. Let us then end things on a high note. Ladies and gentlemen, I bid you feast your eyes on the fantastic Phil Cox and his transformation magics.
What was all that about? The clowning and whatnot was a right laugh, but that last bit was bleeding rubbish. Come on, let's get out of here.
Once more you fail to muster up even an ounce of magical prowess. I had the crowd in the palm of my hand. We'd have been the toast of the town if not for your blunder.
There you go again, shrieking the same old tune. I've had it up to my eyeball with this farce. Just because you know a few cheap tricks doesn't give you the right to treat me like that. I can't stand the sight of you, let alone the thought of taking to the stage with you again. Good riddance.
Well, well, fate has conspired for us to cross paths once again. Out with it, then. I know you're not here to swap pleasantries. A foul fiend failing to get into the spirit of All Saints' Wake? I'd wager you speak of Phil Cox, the fellow who stormed off in a huff. Like most of our ilk, Phil Cox and I have an insatiable appetite for ether. But unlike your garden variety void scent who hunt hapless mortals like beasts, we prefer to sate our hunger with their enthusiastic approval. I tell you, there's no ether as delectable as you'll find in food gifted in genuine appreciation. Which set me to thinking, perhaps preying on mortals was an old-fashioned and misguided approach. Thus did I commit to giving folk the sort of frights that dazzle and delight, winning hearts and minds, and in the process no small number of ether-laden delicacies. And what better occasion for such terrifying amusements as All Saints' Wake? The method is catching too. Many void scent now seek ether in this manner. Phil Cox is one such reformed individual. When I first laid eyes upon him, I sensed promise. But get him in front of a crowd, and you're lucky to get a smattering of half-hearted applause, let alone a few measly crumbs. You'd be better off hearing it from the Ahriman's mouth, though. He can't have gotten far. That sniveling whelp of an imp. Magic's this, magic's that. The sheer unbridled cheek of it.
Phil Cox is practically frothing at the mouth. So incensed is he by his treatment at the hands of Papa Gruff. You must soothe him before attempting to start a conversation.
Apologies. I had taken leave of my senses. Your timely intervention is much appreciated. Wait, by the look of you, I'd say you're an adventurer. Let me guess. That pumpkin-headed lady sent you to check up on me, did she? I suppose it wouldn't hurt to tell you my tale. Try as I might, I just can't get the hang of transformation magics. And without the means to delight the crowds, we're starved for appreciation. I'm an Ahriman. Paralyzing prey with this big eye of mine? Not a problem. Turning them to stone with a petrifying glare? A trifling task. Hells, I can even smell despair and all manner of negative emotions in the people around me. Obviously, paralysis and petrification won't win over an audience, and my metaphorical nose for despair isn't going to put ether on the table either. I ought to just tell that pumpkin-headed lady I'm not cut out for this business. If you're here at her behest, you'd better come too. That about sums it up. I gave it my all and have naught to show for it, which is to say, I've come to the conclusion that I will never be an entertainer.
Heh. I gather you had a hand in Philcox's decision to lay bare his thoughts and feelings?
Not that it did any good. I'm still stuck at square one, underappreciated and underfed.
Such a curious child. Are you truly so blind to your own potential? No doubt you have an inkling as to what I speak of. Pray share your wisdom with Philcox.
I suppose I could give that a go. But do you really think that if I rid people of their woes, they'll repay the favor? I'm unfamiliar with mortal customs, but if you say so... Ah, wait! I see the logic in it now. What better way to make use of my talents and knock that pompous Papa Gruff right off his pedestal? No. I'm getting ahead of myself. I've no idea where to start.
Perhaps I can lend a hand with a little sleight of hand. Hold still. Not only is that get-up guaranteed to turn heads, each and every thread is imbued with a potent magic to aid in your newfound purpose.
Oh ho! I think I can feel it. Maybe this isn't going to be so tough after all. There you are. I had thought to apologize for my harsh words earlier, since our act was my initiative, and therefore our success, or lack thereof, was ultimately my responsibility. But I sense that you've been scheming. It pleases me to inform you, Papa Gruff, that I've found a way to win over mortals on my own terms. I find that hard to believe. But since you seem so confident, why don't we have ourselves a contest? Whoever garners the most affection, and thereby the largest share of ether-rich victuals, wins. And to the victor go the spoils of subservience. The loser will be bound to obey their every whim. How does that sound? You're on! I hope you're ready to bow and scrape. That mortal epithet about one's bark being worse than one's bite comes to mind. Prepare yourself, Philcox. I know I've got this marvelous magic outfit, but I'm still not entirely convinced I have what it takes to beat Papa Gruff on my own. Come with me, just until I get the hang of things. That's all I ask.
Very well. I shall leave Philcox in your capable hands. I trust you will do everything in your power to assist Philcox in his endeavors.
How about we try and find a troubled soul in need of aid? But let's get out of here first. Right, time to look for folk harboring negative feelings. Give me a moment. I don't know if it has anything to do with that pumpkin-headed lady's enchantment, but my powers feel more potent than ever. I've already found someone, and whoever they are, they're awfully flustered. They're to the northeast, I think, though I'm not sure where exactly. The roads here can be confusing. Truth be told, this is my first time in the city. I've got a decent sense of direction, but I've yet to grasp the lie of the land. Could I trouble you to lead the way? Our flustered target is northeast of here. I'll be right behind you.
Phil Cox is now accompanying you. Keep him at your side in order to proceed with quest objectives. You can leave Phil Cox behind by entering a different area, or by speaking with him and selecting the option to part ways. If you wish to have Phil Cox join you again, return and speak with him at the original location. While you are accompanied, you may encounter conversation points along the way, which offer additional topics of discussion. Enter the glowing area and speak with your quest companions to initiate these bonus conversations. Enjoy exploring your surroundings together.
That clown was amazing.
Ah, such glee. They mentioned a clown. I'd wager they've just had the, privilege of seeing one of Papa Gruff's performances. Listen, I'll be the first to admit that he's an expert illusionist, and you've only got to look at folk like these ladies to see that he knows how to work a crowd. But I won't be upstaged. I'll prove there's more than one way to win over an audience, by following your timely advice, that is. Given the delight written on their faces, our opponent must have earned himself some sustenance, which means we've no time to lose. Onward! Oh gods, where has she gotten to? Ah, this must be the fellow my senses were leading me to. Shall we find out what ails him? You there, what's gotten you so worked up? Oh, forgive me. There was this poor little girl who'd been separated from her mother. I was helping her to look, but she suddenly disappeared. I can't simply abandon her, but then again I have an urgent personal matter to attend to and I don't know what to do. In that case, why don't I and my associate look for the girl? Then you can see to your affairs without worry. Thank you, thank you. She's a young lass dressed in blue. I hope you're able to find her forthwith. He certainly was appreciative, yet here I am, empty-handed. Forget the food. We have a lost child to find. I'm detecting a despairing presence to the east of here. Odds are it's the girl, which means I have need of your navigational nous once again. After you.
That clown was amazing. Turning a pumpkin into a little pup. Whatever will they do next?
I should have known you'd turn up sooner or later. I thought this would be a fine opportunity to accrue some appreciation, but the poor girl is beside herself. She keeps calling out for her mama. Might I enlist your help? This must be the lost lass we've been looking for. If we want to earn her thanks, we'll need to reunite her with her mother, wouldn't you say? Which means we now have a lady to locate. Any suggestions? Ah, you're saying that the mother will be worried about her daughter having gone missing? Brilliant. This is exactly why I had you accompany me. Right then. Founder, I don't know which is the bigger boon, having you by my side or this fancy finery. I think I've learned my way around the city more or less. I'll handle this next part on my own. Wait here. I'll be back with the girl's mother in no time.
"12 be praised, you're safe." You have my eternal gratitude.
Thanks for finding Mama, mister.
Do you believe me now, Papa Gruff? Sweet, sweet appreciation and all courtesy of my special talent. I can't help but notice they didn't offer you anything edible by way of thanks. For my part, I've already been rewarded with a tasty morsel. That said, the gift of food is far from guaranteed. Indeed, perseverance is key, which is why I find myself performing show after show. I suggest you approach this contest with the same tenacity, Phil Cox. I'm afraid he's right. Constant effort is key. Luckily, I sensed another troubled soul while I was tracking down the girl's mother. I'd better see what I can do to help. You know, I think I'm ready to go it alone now. Why don't you let our pumpkin-headed benefactor know? I'll come and find you when I'm done. Well, I'm afraid my next performance calls. Until we meet again, adventurer.
Ha ha ha. The adventurer returns, and at the precise moment I predicted. I do hope keeping Philcock's company wasn't too taxing. What of our fiend and his endeavors? You have my thanks truly. Ah, speak of the devils. Here they come.
Dear, oh dear. That turned out to be a damn sight harder than I'd anticipated. And all I have to show for my travails is a single cookie. To think the first gift I'd receive would prove to be the last. Curses! I didn't receive so much as a crumb. I suppose this means you win. Very well. I am yours to command, Papa Gruff.
Haha. You admit defeat far too readily, Philcox.
Hooray! We found you! I wanted to thank you properly for helping me and Mama. I brought you a pumpkin cookie.
Simply scrumptious.
Hey, I'm glad you like it. Farewell.
That makes it one apiece. A draw, then. Still, Philcox, while you had some assistance along the way, you've nevertheless done yourself proud. To think I'd live to see the day Papa Gruff sings my praises. Awfully kind of you to finally admit that I might have worth. Is that all you desire? My begrudging acceptance? Have you forgotten your reasons for joining in the festivities in the first place? Of course I haven't. The good people of Gridania are still in need of my help. And where there are common folk in need, there are cookies to be freed, and given to me. Adventurer, I had better get going. But before I do, let me say this. I might have found a way to make the most of my talents, but I wouldn't have been able to do so without you and the pumpkin-headed lady. I'm sure we'll run into each other again one of these days. Till then. The promise I sensed in Philcox when he and I first met wasn't illusory after all. I should take my leave too. 'Twould be remiss of me to allow him to garner all the glory, to say nothing of the cookies.
Haha. I'd say those two fiends ended up having themselves a frightfully fun-filled All Saints wake. Wouldn't you agree? And for your part in this, a fitting reward. I present to you a set of finery, as worn by Gridania's most emotionally perceptive Ahriman. Ah, perhaps you wonder if your outfit is endowed with the same enchantment? You needn't worry. There never was an enchantment. That little charade was my way of giving Philcox the confidence he so sorely lacked. Although, I dare say such a measure was unnecessary, given he had you to cheer him on. Before I forget, you are hereby cordially invited to my humble abode for a get-together of sorts. Do drop by. I assure you it will be frightfully entertaining. Anyway, your help is much appreciated. At this rate, my vision of an All Saints wake for mortals and void sent alike might not be such a distant prospect. Though I do hope that these shenanigans haven't dulled your enthusiasm for this most occult of occasions.
You now have access to Sneaky Hollow. Speak with the unusual usher at Me Keto's amphitheater to be escorted to the costume party.
I dare say this will make a fine article. I wonder if I've missed any other intriguing details. What wonderful decorations. This fellow seems rather suspect.